Our first movie tells the story of a friendship behind prison walls that spans more than 20 years.
Welcome to episode 20. That's right, number 20 of Middlebrow Madness, an exercise in podcast hubris. My name is Derek Gaday.
Is this podcast produced by Steven Spielberg? Because we're back, Derek.
A dinosaur story. Yeah.
I've been sitting on that joke for like a month.
I thought about...
because... No, you go. I want to hear what your opinions are on We're Back and that joke specifically.
Well, I can't remember my take on... I know I've seen that movie because I was once very young as well. But that joke... Because here's the thing. I thought about doing that joke, forgot, and then was reminded of it when you did it.
Great minds think terrible thoughts together. What's going on between Lindsay Lohan and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia? A wild rumor hit town that Lohan and the bloodthirsty Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia have gotten close, and that he's been flying her around in his jets and showering her with presents, including a gift-wrapped credit card. And when we started asking around, a source in the inner circle acknowledged that they know each other. Now a rep for Lohan, 33, tells us that the pair met just once, around a year ago at a Formula One Grand Prix race. The rep also denied that bin Salman, who has been accused of ordering the 2018 murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, gave Lohan a credit card. Either way, pals of Lohan, who say they've seen text exchanges between the pair, are boasting about what they claim is a new friendship. The rep calls these claims lies. And while the Herbie fully loaded star and the vicious authoritarian would seem to make for an unlikely twosome, sources close to Lohan, who have been partly based in nearby Dubai for the past couple of years, told Page 6 it is not unusual for the rumor singer to be courted by Middle Eastern dignitaries.
Oh, right. Where do we start with this one? First of all, whoever wrote the copy on this, you saw an opportunity and fucking went for it. So, kudos.
Absolutely. And I want to say that it's kind of amazing that tabloid journal Page 6 is more willing to anger Saudi Arabia than like the New York Times is.
Yeah, that's like, you know, yeah, I mean, you're not gonna hear this, you're not gonna hear me say this very often, but kudos to Page 6 on that one. And also, Herbie Fully Loaded is the movie you go with?
And
not
also,
like
referencing
Mean
her
Girls?
music career, like, oh yeah, she made that song Rumors that only I remember because I like the Witch House remix of it.
I remember Rumors just because pop culture has a way of just collecting in my brain.
Did you ever see that video of Lindsay Lohan trying to, like, steal those children? So...
No! What?
So there's this video online...
What are you talking about?
There's this video online where Lindsay Lohan, speaking in broken Turkish...
Okay.
is trying to accuse a family of homeless people of stealing refugee children, and then she attempts to steal the children she thinks are refugees from this homeless family.
Oh no, Lindsay, what are you doing?
Yeah. Lindsay Lohan has had some adventures lately. I highly recommend everyone look them up. Let's just say she's a fan of Turkish authoritarians, or authoritarians in general.
So how do we know that this is not like a weird psyop? How do we know that Lindsay Lohan is not a CIA asset?
How much money would the CIA have to pay Lindsay Lohan to do this?
Not
much anymore, right? I mean, if this was like 2005, maybe like CIA can't afford that, but in 2019, I feel like I could afford to have Lindsay Lohan do something for me.
We still love you, Lindsay.
We do. I hope you like get the help you need because you seem like you need some help, and I don't mean that negatively. I mean that sincerely.
You said she was 33. That just broke my heart. Because I'm 31. I'm like, fuck, I mean,
only 2 years to get involved with Mohammed bin Salman.
Yeah, I've got to find an authoritarian to seduce.
There's a lot of them out there.
No shit.
2019 is dirty with authoritarian governments, if you want to believe that.
chock full of fascists for me to fillet.
Oh, God. That's just the worst term. Thanks for that.
It was also the most assonant term, which is why I used it.
So usually we don't always... I mean, we might... Are there any movies with Lindsay Lohan on this list? Is the Parent Trap on this list? Control F, Parent Trap?
I don't think so.
It is not.
I don't think Parent Trap's on this list.
What about Herbie Fully Loaded? No? What about that movie where she got killed by a glass axe, rather?
Was that...
I Know You Killed Me.
Just a crystal donkey fell on her? I believe that's... I believe that was called I Know Who Killed Me.
Sure is. A movie that is better than you remember it being, but still not very good. Anyways, Derek, what do we usually do on this podcast?
We talk about motion pictures. We talk about movies.
We've been recording for 20 minutes, but because the first bit didn't work, and we also haven't recorded for a couple weeks, so. Yeah,
we took some time off, but we're back, baby. And back with a fucking vengeance, it would seem. Because you didn't hear the entirety of our intro bit, but we have indeed been recording for 25 minutes at this point. But usually we talk about movies on this podcast, and specifically, we talk about the Internet Movie Database top 250 movies of all time.
Only the finest films for our eyes.
Yeah, mostly. A lot of these movies are good, a lot of them are bad. That's kind of a boring take, but it's true. What do you want? So what we've done, the whole conceit of this podcast, is that we've put in these 250 movies plus 6 additional movies that we picked, 3 that I picked and 3 that Isabel picked, and we have a giant single elimination bracket. And through the tried and true method of pitting one movie against the other and see which one comes out on top, we hope to find eventually, sometime in like 2022, the best movie of all time, asterisk. And we also have a couple of rules that we try our best to follow. We also, since this is a 2-person operation, we have vetoes, since there obviously can be times where we disagree. And not to spoil anything for the next couple episodes, but I think that might happen a couple times. We have vetoes. We have 4 vetoes for the first round, which we are still on. And I've used one of my 4 vetoes that were allotted at the beginning of this whole charade, and you have used 2, Isabel.
Did I? What did I use the second one?
I believe you used it on Rush, so you wouldn't have to watch Grave of the Fireflies again.
Oh, yes. How quickly I forget.
Oh, man. That is like... That's a great episode. Because, well, we had a great discussion about those 2 movies. But, not to toot my own horn, but I think I had a very good reaction to you, basically, putting Grave of the Firefly out of its misery, so to speak. But yeah, so now we're at this point in the bracket, and we're going to keep on trucking, because if my math is correct, we have 19 episodes, and there are 2 matchups per episode. So that means we're about to do our 39th and 40th matchups out of a first round, where there are 128 matchups.
Oof. When you put it that way, that's rough, Derek.
We're about a third of the way up the bracket for round 1. So anyway, let's avert our gaze from the giant mountain we have to climb and just focus on the next step ahead. But the next step ahead involves some of the worst movies that we've seen so far. Oh boy. So this time around we have Downfall versus 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and Fight Club versus The Handmaiden. Holy moly. So should we just get right into this?
Yeah. So, Derek, you're a big fan of Hitler.
I mean, when I was gonna say, let me do the tail of the tape for our first matchup.
Yeah, sure. Tell us about your favorite guys.
Yeah, my favorite people. All right, so let's do this. Downfall, which is the 119 seed. This is in the top, this is in the top half of the bracket.
Yes.
Downfall, or if you're of the German persuasion, Der Untergang. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
German's a funny language. I just want to say that German is a very funny language. I'm German. I'm allowed to say that. I can't. You can't get mad at me.
Let's see. Directed by Oliver Hirschbiegel. Written by Bernd Each. I should have written this down. Written by Bernd Eichinger. I hope that's how you say it.
Probably not.
Based on Inside Hitler's Bunker by Joachim Fest and Until the Final Hour by Torkel Junge Melissa Müller. Is that 2 people or 1? Man, we are rusty, or I am rusty. Starring Bruno Ganz, Alexandra Maria Lara, who was in Rush. This is her second time on the show. Karina Harfush, Ulrich Mathis, and Julianne Kohler. It was... I didn't get a conversion for the budget. It cost 13.5 million euros, but it did make $92 million, which is not insignificant. Versus...
Man, that is weird. I just looked on... That is kind of strange that the Wikipedia page has the euro budget, but the dollar box office. That's strange.
Yeah, and I'm not going to bother checking for awards. Who cares?
Probably win a lot of them.
Against 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, written and directed by Martin McDonough, starring Frances McDormand, Woody Harrelson, and Sam Rockwell. What cost about $12 to $15 million according to Wikipedia, and was a bona fide hit, $159.2 million take, and did pretty well, so far as I remember, in Oscar play. This one I'm going to pull up because I think it might be relevant. It won two awards: Best Actress for Frances McDormand, and Best Supporting Actor Sam Rockwell, but was nominated for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other ones. So it went 2 for 7. It was there was a whole hullabaloo about this film whenever it came out. And it was the talk of the town.
Real quick, worth noting that not only did McDormand and Rockwell win an Academy Award, they also both won the Golden Globe Awards, the BAFTA Awards, and the SAG Awards for their respective roles. Which is...
Performances, yeah.
That's a lot of awards for 2 of the shittiest things I've ever seen. But, yeah, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, Derek.
Let me put on my Defend Hitler hat.
Wait, are we starting with Downfall?
I was going to start with Downfall and lead into 3 Billboards.
Okay. You were going to say you don't agree with all the social policies, but you think the economic policies of Nazi Germany were doing great.
I would like to say for the record that
yes, let's before we get into these dicey jokes here that we're probably going to cut out. Let's
before Isabel fucking defames me on the show that we both do. Before Isabel defames me like the friend she is, let me just say that in no way do I support or condone any policy that was put into being by Hitler's Third Reich. Feels like a weird thing to have to say,
but it is 2019, so ugh, rough.
Yeah. So Downfall is
better as a meme than a movie.
Better as a meme than a movie. That's kind of the sad truth, because functionally what this is, like plot-wise or story-wise, it is the last dying breaths of the Reich. Germany is like within a hair's width of surrendering, but that wily Hitler, he don't want to surrender.
God.
And so it's basically, it's a feeble, rheumatic Hitler played by Bruno Ganz, the great Swiss actor who passed away a couple years ago. I believe he's Swiss. I don't want to be saying some wild shit.
He is.
He is. And so,
but he's most famous from German films like Wim Wenders films and Nosferatu and
Wings of Desire. Great actor. And I mean, I think I liked his performance here more than you did.
I agree. I thought it was bad.
Okay. I thought it was okay. I thought it was fine as far as portrayals of the Fuhrer goes.
What's your favorite portrayal of the Fuhrer, Derek?
Charlie Chaplin in Fuck.
In Fuck.
A Great Dictator.
Everyone's favorite film.
Fuck. The Great Dictator.
A film we will talk about later. Yes, a great portrayal. Not technically Hitler.
Not technically Hitler.
But
it
all
is clearly
Hitler.
Yeah.
No, continue, sorry.
So this Hitler is like ailing, rheumatic, like I don't know, Ganz plays him with like sort of a Parkinson's tic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so his inner circle kind of jockeys for that top spot, even though the Reich is crumbling. And this is all told through the eyes of his secretary in this last sort of portion of the Reich. And
who we see real life footage of at the beginning and end of the film.
Yeah. Which I don't think the movie needs.
No.
Like,
but also the movie needs a lot of other things, so I don't even think if it needed it, it's exactly doing what it's trying to do.
I mean, it is kind of driving the point home that this is an actual thing that happened. But I don't know if that's a point that needs to be driven home in a fucking Hitler movie.
I mean, you say that, and maybe in 2004, I would have been more convinced by the argument, but also, like, seeing how things have gone in the world, I think there is a reason to have that in there, and I think there's a relevance to reminding people like, hey, this is not just a fiction. This is a thing that actually happened. This is a thing that people actually lived through, and some of those people are still alive right now. But I do agree that as far as the structure of the film, it does feel a little bit superfluous. What else feels superfluous is a lot of the other sections of the film. Like, the biggest problem I have with this film is not, I think the most common criticism of it, and one I partially share, is that it humanizes the Reich too much. And I feel, I don't necessarily agree with that, but I agree with parts of it. I feel like parts of it is too generous. The like freeze frame or like pictures and like where are they now slides at the end are a little fucking much. But I think that I'm not inherently against the idea of creating a film in which we look at the human side of the Third Reich.
Humanizing does not necessarily mean valorizing.
Correct.
That's important to keep in mind.
That was one of the main criticisms the film got. But the criticism I would have would actually be criticizing something a lot of people praised. A lot of people said this movie was very claustrophobic and tense. I felt it was not, and I felt a big part of that is because they kept going out of the bunker. The film should have stuck with the bunker basically the entire time and really just kept ratcheting up that tension, kept like creating a pressure cooker there, because every time those doors open and we see people outside of the bunker, all that pressure gets let out, and you don't actually have a chance to build anything up.
I agree with you, because we've talked on this show about how there's this weird thing on this list where people really like movies that are long, and that there's like almost a sunk cost return on investment thing. But I will say that if this movie would have like limited itself to the Fuhrer bunker and was like this, it could have been 4 hours long, and I think it would have gotten the desired effect. Because as it stood with all the sort of outside stuff, it's like we should have never seen a single explosion. We should have just heard them.
Mm-hmm. Agreed, 100%.
So I don't think that. Yeah, this movie could have been like how much would you figure? How much time do you figure we spent in the bunker in terms of movie time? Like maybe like hour 45, maybe.
Something like a third or a fourth of the movie.
Okay, so if some intrepid editor out there were to just do a supercut of just the scenes in the bunker and would never go outside, that's probably a better version of this film.
Agreed, 100% agreed. And I feel like that also, like, the other problem with going outside the bunker so much is we get too much information about what's going on outside of this atmosphere, whereas the most effective moments of the movie are where things are happening, but it's all just told by generals or all just told by people outside, and you don't always know if what they're saying is accurate or true, and you're not sure what information is actually getting into this atmosphere of
paranoia.
Yeah.
Also, the movie's kind of butt ugly.
Yeah.
It doesn't look great. I understand that it's supposed to be like dour and like brown and not fun, but there's not really a memorable image in this film except for like Hitler and Eva Braun getting married.
Well, it's a lot like, it looks like every other like early 2000s Oscar bait film, except it happens to be German.
Yeah. Except it happens to be German. We'll talk about other countries doing Oscar bait a little later in our series of episodes.
Okay, interesting. I'm interested to see where that goes, but yeah. I feel like there's some things in this film that are like okay. As much as I am not the biggest fan of how Bruno Ganz plays Hitler, I feel like a lot of the other performances are very good. I feel like a lot of the dialogue is interesting and the way the story is structured is interesting, especially if you take out those parts that are, in our opinion, superfluous. But in general, like, I feel like a lot of this film's renown was A, it's about Hitler, and B, it is long. And
it's long as hell.
Those two things end up like coagulating together into like a good movie. Almost universally. Like, can you think of a single like movie about Hitler and Nazi Germany that's like over 2 hours long that was ever negatively received? Like, I literally can't.
Over 2 hours? Well, offhand, no. But all the movies I can think of about Hitler are either not exactly about Hitler or are about Hitler like in passing. Or about Nazism in passing.
Okay. But I mean, like, when you think about something like Schindler's List, which we talked about earlier, which we both thought was, I think, better than Downfall is by a good degree.
Oh, 100%.
Also, like,
no doubt.
Spielberg is a significantly better director and creator of images. But even that film...
I don't know what else this guy Hirschbiegel did.
Let me check this out. See if I've heard of any of these other movies. Das Experiment. The Invasion.
Experiment.
5 Minutes of Heaven. Diana, 13 Minutes. And Criminal, Germany. Haven't heard of any of those.
The Invasion was that fucking remake. Was that fucking remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Oh shit, it was! With Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig.
With Nicole Kidman. That's right.
That movie sucks ass too, so hey. Good job.
Did you see it? Did you see that?
Yeah. It's not very good.
Is it bad?
It's, no, it's I mean, yes, it is bad. It's very bad. And like, I'm a big fan of Nicole Kidman, as everyone who knows me knows, but it is... probably the worst telling of that story.
I mean, who isn't a fan of Nicole Kidman, really?
Oh, I have a joke, but I can't remember the person's name, so I guess it's not going to happen.
Was the answer Tom Cruise?
Nope. That would have been a better joke. But hold on, I'm pulling up the joke. I'm Googling this joke. Hold on. Richard Roxburgh, the Duke of Monmouth. He probably doesn't like Nicole Kidman.
Who the hell is that guy?
That's a Moulin Rouge joke that I took 6 hours to tell. Great film. We should watch Moulin Rouge instead. If you've ever been horny for Nicole Kidman, may I recommend Moulin Rouge?
I'm a person who exists in the world, sure. Although, if we could take 2 seconds to talk about Moulin Rouge rather than talking about this dour bullshit.
Yeah, sure.
I haven't seen Moulin Rouge in like 15 years, and I wasn't wild about it then. I'm sure it'd be more generous to it now, but I'm like allergic to like
jukebox musicals.
Jukebox musicals, like in overall, but specifically anachronistic jukebox musicals.
That is the stupidest thing to be mad about.
We all have our
we all do. Like, I got mad about a very stupid thing in The Handmaiden earlier today, so I cannot get mad at you at all, but...
It's like, Jim Broadbent singing Like a Virgin is one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever seen.
Oh, fuck off. It rules.
For real.
It rules so hard.
For real. I can't. I mean, I like that song and I like Jim Broadbent, but I don't like those things together.
It's almost as good as, what do you call it? Ewan McGregor singing Roxanne. Wonderful.
That's what I think about that.
Wonderful stuff. I'm a big fan of Moulin Rouge. I still defend it. I think it's genuinely a very good film. But
I am willing to have my mind changed about the quality of this film. I'll get to it again one day.
On Monday?
No, one day.
Oh,
one day I will get to it.
I was like, shit, I didn't expect that quick of a turnaround.
That's a Baz Luhrmann joint, right?
Sure is. His best film.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see how that could be.
I really want to see his Gatsby ever since I saw like a Twitter post making fun of it, showing like there was a video of the editing in it that looked fucking insane. Like it looked like it was like three different movies edited together, and all of them were edited poorly, but in a fascinating way. So I really want to see that. But
maybe we'll maybe one day when the brackets like wrapped up, we could do like the Baz Luhrmann miniseries that other podcasts are too cowardly to do.
God, you know what else people are too cowardly to talk about?
What's that?
Racism, police brutality, sexual assault, all topics covered thoughtfully and beautifully in 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. Darkly comic, a renegade masterpiece, says some review on this poster I can see. Derek, do you agree with those opinions on 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri?
What was Ebbing, Missouri? Indeed. What was the quote on the poster?
Darkly comic, a renegade masterpiece.
I am willing to concede to darkly comic.
Even that I'm kind of iffy about. The like actually funny stuff is never the dark stuff. The actually funny stuff is like the like 19-year-old wife. She's the funny part of the movie.
She's pretty funny. So this is a Martin McDonagh joint, and it's about police brutality in the Midwest, racialized violence, sexual assault, blah 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 blah. That's not the interest. Like, this movie is, I hesitate to call it good. I did like it, but I do hesitate to call it good, which is weird because I like a bunch of crime movies with dubious politics.
Oh, certainly. I think, like, we're going to talk about Die Hard later on in the bracket, which is basically conservative power fantasy, as are most action movies, to be fair. And I think Die Hard is one of my favorite films ever. It's fucking rules. Like, the fact that a movie has bad politics is not necessarily enough to damn it for me.
No.
What damns Three Billboards for me is the fact that, I don't like the script. I think the script is absolute ass, which is shocking because I really like McDonagh. And I also think that, like, it's the way it attempts to use those hot button, like, very serious and very topical issues is clumsy and strange. Not even necessarily in an offensive way, just in like a, what did you think this would do kind of way? Like, what did Martin McDonagh think what he was accomplishing by using the phrase people of color torturing?
I think, see, this is the thing that, it leads me to believe that I don't even think, it's weird. I don't even think Martin McDonagh takes any of this seriously, which is kind of damning.
I agree. The fact that, like, essentially the movie ends because we get DNA tests from a person's skin that was scratched off by another person.
I think this is like almost like it's almost like a Coen Brothers movie, but for knuckleheads.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm a knucklehead.
Okay.
And there's I think a lot, like, there's a lot of this movie that's really dubious. It's just like it's hard to defend this movie. All right, let's see if I could talk my way into a take.
Yeah, go for it.
I think that this movie is, like, as far as the script is concerned, I think on a moment there's a lot of, like, wild choices in this movie, and I think moment to moment it mostly works. Like, and as there's, because this is a fake deep movie. It tries to be about a ton of things when really it just wants to be like a small town crime movie. Like, I think the thing that sinks this movie more than like anything else, more than like the politics or like the wild choices some of the actors make sometimes, is its portent. And since Martin McDonagh appears to not take any of this seriously, he doesn't take the portent seriously either. So, in trying to have its cake and eating it too, it does neither.
I could see that as a defense. I definitely agree that the roughest moments of this movie are where it's attempting to be serious and attempting to quote unquote say something, because you can tell its heart isn't really in it. Mm-hmm. Like, the fact that Sam Rockwell's character, who is a racist, homophobic cop, who literally throws a guy out the window, and has a history, apparently, of torturing black people. He becomes not homophobic because a gay person gives him orange juice in the hospital. That's a thing that happens in this movie.
Is the guy in the hospital gay?
Yeah, he's the one he threw out the window.
Oh, the Caleb, what's his face?
Yeah.
Caleb Landry Jones. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And this is a movie where there's a scene, maybe my favorite scene in the movie, because it's the worst scene in the movie, where Frances McDormand, as Mildred Hayes, is out near the billboards, and a deer, the worst CGI deer you could imagine, comes up to her, and she has a... comes up to her, and she has a... I
literally didn't mind.
A deep conversation with this deer, and it's the most out-of-place thing in the movie.
You know what? I didn't even mind.
God.
Like, it was a moment where, like, the movie was, like, earnestly trying to, like, it was, like, probably the one earnest moment in the film.
God. I feel like if this movie leading into its irreverence more, I feel like I'd be more willing to give it some slack. It's the fact that it does things like I do think it's plenty
irrelevant. Not irrelevant, but irreverent.
I think it uses really heavy subjects in ways that attempts to grab meaning from those without actually considering it.
I would agree.
Do you remember the part where... Okay, so do you think this is a good script?
I think it's You're baiting me.
I am.
I think there are good parts to this script. I think that, like, structurally, it's pretty linear and fine. There's a lot of ham in the script. It's a weird script. It's not a script I hated. Let's put it that way.
Do you think one of the strongest parts is when we get a flashback to the day that Frances McDormand's daughter died, and while they're arguing, and while she walks out the door, Frances McDormand's daughter, who is immediately afterwards raped and killed, she says, "I hope I get raped," and then Frances McDormand says, "I hope you get raped too." Is that one of the stronger parts of the film?
No.
Okay.
Because this is also...
I am being a bit of a dick, to be fair, but also
this is also an edgelord movie, where you've got three protagonists who are fucking dipshits and awful people, doing all sorts of shit, stupidly and not well thought outly. And, yeah. Like, fucking Frances McDormand isn't some... She's a protagonist, but she's not good.
No
one's in this movie's good.
But...
She's
too lighthearted to be an edgelord movie. An edgelord movie takes itself seriously. Like Seven takes itself deathly seriously.
But that's the thing. This movie has a lot of... Okay, yeah, sure, all right. This is not a dungeon movie, is what you're saying.
Oh, no, but it's also... I think that Martin McDonagh thinks that the N-word is way lighter than it is. Let's say that.
Right, okay, sure. Yeah, I think this is maybe like a weird intangible thing, but I 100% think this movie would have been better if an American had made it.
Yes.
And that's like a minor thing. And I'd also like to point out, and this was actually pointed out in a Letterboxd review by your friend and mine, BG5000, that there is a difference between redemption and atonement. Sam Rockwell atones and is not redeemed. Because he's still the same prick at the end of the movie. All we have at the end of the movie is two pricks going off to kill a guy. Because maybe he did something? Who knows?
I see where that reading comes from. I also think that from my watching of it, it's not supported. I think that like the way that things are framed and the music that's used and the way that his decisions are placed in the context of the film and the way they're shot seems like it's attempting to say he is now a better person. And he has now become a good, not necessarily a good person, but he has become a person that maybe we can have more sympathy for and almost some amount of love for.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
I think that like at the end when they both jump in the car and they're like, basically we're going to go kill a guy more or less, that the movie is on their side.
No, I think that the movie, as we've like established, is pretty ambivalent about it because it doesn't really have. It's weird to talk about. It's weird to say this about a movie whose sort of central incident is like brutal crimes, but there's not really a kind of emotional anchor to this. And so what we're left with is a movie at the end that says, "Well, guess they're going to do that." It's frustratingly, it's a nothing movie. It tries to say so much.
I think we disagree with how it ends or like our reading on the ending, but I do agree that it is a movie that doesn't actually do anything.
I mean, there are parts of it, like, I like the sort of hothouse cranked to 11 performances. There are parts of the script I like because Martin McDonagh is really good at writing flavorful dog shit, and I love flavorful dog shit. And I mean, the movie like looks pretty and all this, but it's a nothing movie. In trying to say a bunch of things, I like the tonal whiplash, but it doesn't nail the tonal whiplash. It tries to mix portent and, not whimsy, but portent and irreverence, and can't quite nail it.
I'll just say that In Bruges should have been on this list instead.
Yeah, In Bruges is is streets ahead of this movie. That's not even. That's not even like I will sort of say I sort of liked this movie. It got laughs out of me. I was into it. But In Bruges is like a fucking masterpiece.
Okay, so out of these two movies,
so that being said,
which one are we gonna choose?
I think Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri is the better film.
Yeah,
I would much
rather rewatch
watch
it,
this
yes.
again. Yeah,
like,
and who knows?
I don't care for
knows,
either
maybe...
one, but I think that Three Billboards 8 shorter. Not to keep going back to that, but it is shorter, and it at least is trying to do something. I feel like Downfall is not really taking the same wild swing that Three Billboards is.
No, I mean, Three Billboards, respect to Martin McDonagh, is a wild swing. That is a blank check movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I would much rather watch Three Billboards again than Downfall.
Okay, agreed.
So congratulations, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. You move on to round 2 to face the winner of our next matchup.
Which this next matchup is going to be contentious, I feel like.
I feel like this is going to be a bit more contentious.
This is one of our most evenly matched matchups. Let me just say that, but continue.
I mean, I have a clear winner in my head, but we'll get to that. So, our second matchup of the show, the 10 seed, the 10th best movie of all time, Fight Club, directed by David Fincher, written by Jim Ulls, based on the book of the same name by Chuck Palahniuk, starring Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, and Helena Bonham Carter. I mean, there's also Meatloaf and Jared Leto. But, did this get any kind of, awards play?
I don't think so. No, it's pretty, it was relatively underseen and, underappreciated when it came out.
It was nominated for 1 Oscar for sound editing, but lost to The Matrix. But it was a hit. $63 million budget, $101.2 million take. And, I think this is more relevant to our current conversation, David Fincher's last chance to get into round 2.
Which is sad.
A director we both like. I mean, the fucking selection committee, aka the users of the Internet Movie Database, fucked up because his best movie, Zodiac, is not here.
Yes, that is wild that Zodiac is not on this list.
Nowhere to be seen.
Or the Social Network should absolutely be on this list too. Not even from
also 100%.
That is such a crowd pleasing movie too that I'm shocked that it's not on here. But hey,
it's a fucking masterpiece. It should 100% be on here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he does have a legitimate masterpiece on this list, Gone Girl, but it lost.
Look, if it hadn't gone up against the wonderful anime, I would have let it go through. And like we said in our quarter of the way through wrap up, when we did that little overview, that was the saddest one I from leaving the list. I really wish that could still be on here. I love that movie, but I like Your Name more. So
the blood of David Fincher is on all weeaboos' hands, and I want you to know that.
Yeah, they're fine with it. They're fine with it.
All right, so that's that.
Mm-hmm.
Versus this was actually a fun one to have in the bracket. The 247 seed, sneaking right in under the buzzer, The Handmaiden, directed by Park Chan-wook, written by Park Chan-wook and Chung Seo-kyung, based on Fingersmith by Sarah Waters, starring Kim Min-hee, Kim Tae-ri, and Ha Jung-woo. And we have an approximation of the budget here, approximately 8.8 million American dollars, and made 37.7. So a good kind of mid-budget hit. The likes we don't really see. Have you seen anything like The Handmaiden? I don't think I have.
It is it's a unique film. It is I think are we starting with The Handmaiden? Can I get into my opinions on it?
No, we're going to start with Fight Club.
Okay. But yes,
we're going to start with Fight Club because I think Fight Club is I think maybe the richer text of the two, which is not necessarily to say the better movie, but in the grand Fight Club is almost it's 20 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, it's become kind of this signifier for hot couch guy dorm. It's a hot couch guy movie. It's a dorm room staple. It's every bro's favorite movie, and it's been a punching bag for this for like 20 years. And the sad fucking truth is this movie whips.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. It's really good.
The way I'd compare it to, this is going to be a little bit of a strange comparison, but bear with me. I would compare this to be...
What? You making a strange comparison? Making a weird reference?
A film version of the video game BioShock. By which I mean, it is a great thing, a great artistic object who has been discussed to death so much that I hate kind of discussing it anymore. But when you go back to it, it is wonderful, and it deserves a lot more than it gets, if that makes sense.
I've never played BioShock, so I wouldn't know.
Well, let me just put it this way: like, I had a friend who took a video games as art class or whatever, and they were when they did their final written piece of the class, they were specifically told, "You cannot talk about BioShock. I've had too many essays about BioShock."
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And in the same way, I feel like if you were in like a first year film student vibe, you would have too many essays about Fight Club.
About Fight Club, yeah.
Which is not to say it's bad.
So what's Fight Club about?
Fight Club is about like the way society is, man. It's about like masculinity and like the destruction of the American male. That's actually not true. It's actually not about that. It's kind of a masculinity, but I think that unlike Palahniuk's book, which I think is a much weaker work, Fight Club is actively...
Have not read it.
It's bad. So is everything else he's written. He's a terrible author, but it's also like the worst kinds of edgelord. Like I think he's like actually kind of borderline alt right now. But Fight Club, the movie, is actively critical of the way that it presents its masculinity, and I think the way it uses like clear homoerotic undertones, and the fact that Brad Pitt wears nothing but like the gayest fucking outfits you've ever seen in your entire life.
It's like almost Hunter Thompson drag.
Yeah, that is totally true.
A little bit.
Later on, he wears a fur jacket with a like mesh shirt underneath it, which is a badass look, and also I think complicates
gay as hell.
Yeah, it's very gay as hell, and it complicates what should be what I think maybe most people think of as a very simple reading. Which is like, hey, society's fucked up, man.
Yeah, I mean, you watch this movie, and Brad Pitt is shot pornographically in this fucking movie.
1,000%, yes.
The camera salivates at him. And, this is 99 Brad Pitt. This is a handsome man.
Is a man worth salivating over.
I mean, I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. 20 years on, he's still a man worth salivating over.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, you're exactly right on about that.
I think, like, from the outside, this is a we live in a society movie. It's like, but when you actually start picking it apart, it's a lot more complicated than that, and there's a lot more interesting threads going on. Like, yes, it is anti-corporate and anti-materialist in the what do you call it, consumerist sense, not in the philosophical sense. But
right,
it also has some very active criticisms for the way that we are criticizing those things. Like, the way that Project Mayhem chooses to criticize those things is also criticized. It's shown as being in a very ineffective way. It's being a way that actually just reproduces the old ways of the old things that are hurting people. It's not actually liberating. It just feels better because it's allowing these men to essentially play act a form of masculinity that they've been taught to believe is the way they should be. Like Brad Pitt has that famous kind of monologue where he's like, we were taught we were supposed to be like movie stars and all this kind of stuff, but we're not, and we're pissed off because of that. But they're just buying into a different narrative. They're buying into this other narrative of like this uber competent, independent man, this masculine man who fights and is violent and has no feelings, has no emotions.
Well, the cosmic joke of the film is that like there's like 50 of these guys who believe the same thing and do the same thing in the same way.
It's like, have you ever seen footage of Rage Against the Machine playing live where it's a whole crowd singing along saying, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me?
I mean,
and it's like,
it's pretty funny.
The most weird, ironic thing you can imagine. This whole movie is that.
I don't usually like to read my own shit on the show, but I will because I'm very fond of this Letterboxd review. I wrote of this when I rewatched this movie 2 whole months ago. It goes, normal brain, this is about consumerism. Expanding brain, this is about toxic masculinity. Galaxy Brain, this is about the seductiveness and deviousness of red pilling and cults of personality and radical movements. Cosmos Brain, this is about an MLM scheme.
I do like that review quite a bit.
And that is specifically what stuck with me this time around, which is the whole sort of the seduction of a charismatic leader, basically using the language of liberation in order to basically cast control over this group of men who are sort of to take advantage of these men who are sort of in like a desperate situation, if you will.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
that's the thread that stuck with me this time.
Certainly, and I had a similar one that stuck with me this time, which is to borrow a phrase from I forget who. I apologize. It's some philosopher probably, but there's this phrase I really like, which is capitalism capitalizes, by which is meant the most anti-corporate, anti-capitalist like thing you could create is just going to be co-opted by someone using the same forms of capitalism. And essentially, Project Mayhem, like you're saying, creates a multi-level marketing scheme for anti-capitalism. And it makes sense that this is a movie thought of as like a reaction to Gen X values and like the way that Gen X values were co-opted. Like you think about that drink, I think it was like a soda in the 90s called like OK, which is like
OK soda, that's right.
Which is like, oh, we're getting like the anti-marketing dollars. Which is obviously a joke that like Bill Hicks made. It's that Hicks, obvious, right. But still, it's a good joke, and for a reason. Like that is such a common thing in the way that
it's a very 90s thing. Not that it's not still ongoing, but it feels particularly like this is a very. It's definitely a movie of its time. It's definitely kind of a 90s lightning in a bottle thing. And not just sort of the visual and sonic signifiers. And a lot of its ideas and the way they're presented.
Look, I think that like the 90s was the first time that really became apparent to people. Like when you saw the alternative like movement dissolve and just become corporatized, it's I think one of the first examples in after the real flourishing of neoliberalism, it was one of the first examples where it was like, oh, the corporate machine can just take whatever we give it and make it into something else they can sell us. Like, sure.
Sell back.
Yeah. Like Riot Grrrl and grunge music might have been this like radical thing for like 2 years until all of a sudden every major label was eating up every single band that they thought they could make money out of. And they made, there's like that one famous car commercial. I don't know if it's famous. I just reference it a lot. I don't know if that makes it famous, but where like there's this like grunge guy and he's like pointing to this car and he's like, this car is like punk rock. That is the 90s and that is this movie. And I think this movie expresses it in a very complex and fascinating way.
It's watch it again if you think you're not on board. Watch it again.
And also, even if it didn't have those layers, which I think it does, I think it's a very, like you said, a richer text to pull things out of. I think there's a lot to look at here. It's also the fact that stylistically it's so invigorating and fun and fascinating.
Yeah, it gets a lot of mileage out of. It's very show off. It's very eager to please stylistically. It does a lot of shit.
Yeah. So, good film. Very good film.
Good film. Is it better than The Handmaiden, though, is the question. Now, this is the first time I saw this, because I didn't see it when it came out.
Same.
And what a wild ride it was.
Yeah. I didn't expect to be as goofy as it was.
It's pretty out there. It's like kind of everything up to 11.
Like even like, this is a film that includes grotesque torture, the most like male gaze sex scene, like lesbian sex scenes you can imagine.
Yeah.
It includes
sure does.
Like bumbling physical comedy and also like high melodrama and 3 different twists that all happen like in succession.
Don't forget the sex pantomime.
You're correct. Yes, the sex pantomime that is also turned up 100% to 11.
It's
I think if this were made by a less talented director, it would feel like a mess.
Yeah, but since this is so, all of this stuff, like the grotesque torture and the bumbling comedy and the weird and like the like explicit sex, it's a Park Chan-wook film.
Mm-hmm. And Park Chan-wook can make a movie. I think you'll agree with me.
Sure can. And I don't want, like, I think I said this somewhere, was like, I don't want to be all pretentious and say, Oh man, great use of the frame, good mise-en-scène in this film. But goddamn, does the frame look good in this film?
Like, there's so many amazing like, there's great insert shots. There's also a couple wonderful scenes of like you see kind of straight on doors opening and then others doors opening behind those doors, and you get these layers and layers of frames going on. It's very much like when we talked about Ozu.
Yes, exactly. There's also like a 20-second scene in this film where it's just a wide shot of a room that's held as, I guess, like a cloud goes by. Mm-hmm. And so the room goes dim, then becomes light again. And it's like, yeah, I'll just throw that in there, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's great. It's wonderful. There's also POV shots from the point of view of a pussy.
Of a vagina.
Well, you can say what you want.
Here's this is what
in this house we say pussy.
All right. Okay. It just occurred to me that this is just a Brian De Palma film, but like classic.
But like good. I mean, I'm being an asshole. I like a couple of Brian De Palma films. He also made Blowout, which, hey, that's a fucking movie right there.
I mean, Blowout is legitimately one of the greatest films ever made. And I am on record as being a guy who likes a bunch of those Brian De Palma movies. But yeah, this is like...
I really want to see what you think of Mission to Mars. That's a completely different subject, but I think it's one of the worst films I've ever seen, but I feel like you might like it. I feel like that'd be an interesting discussion.
There's a lot of people who go to bat for those.
There is, yeah.
For that one specifically.
Especially in, like, Europe. He's a very French director, in a certain sense.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people who liked Domino from this year were a lot of Europeans as well. But we're not talking about Domino. We're talking about The Handmaiden. Mm-hmm. So what is The Handmaiden about? So it's functionally... It's basically... I mean, I said Brian De Palma, but it's like it's a Hitchcock film. Mm-hmm. It's a con film until it becomes a kind of like weird love triangle film, until it becomes like a not a heist film, but like it becomes like a chase film basically. So it's this genre turducken that is cranked to 11 on all dials. 11 physical comedy, 11 sex, 11 mise-en-scène, 11... It's a very sumptuous film. It is, as one of the protagonists might say, like a ripe peach.
Yes.
It is this beautiful, confounding, erotic, clockwork object. I didn't watch the long cut. I watched a shorter cut, which is like 2 hours 30.
Same.
And I was riveted from the first fucking frame. Because it looks so fucking good. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. It's a fascinating film to watch. There's always new things unfolding. And I think that there's basically nothing that the film doesn't nail. Yeah, I think there's what did you say it was in the chat? It was like sort of... It was like well-made trash or something like that? It's like the most pristine trash.
And that may be one of my favorite kinds of movies. Like this like glossy, sort of art house damaged pulp.
I mean, if I may, David Fincher. That's what he does.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Zodiac
exactly
is a pulp-ass fucking film. Seven is a pulp-ass fucking film. Like, Gone Girl is literally like an airport novel. But...
So yeah, so basically spit-shined trash is maybe the official genre of middlebrow madness.
I did want to say
So I don't know if you want to get into like...
Well, I want to say before we got out of The Handmaiden that earlier I did call the sex in this and the way the sex is shot very male-gazy. And I feel like the use of that term has become inherently stigmatized. Where I don't feel it necessarily has to be. Like, I don't mean that negatively. I think that would I have preferred if this movie was directed by a woman with the same filmmaking skills as Park Chan-wook? Probably. But also, like, there is a value to the way that he shoots these scenes and that he clearly has, like, a boner for half the movie. I think it's actually kind of wonderful and rewarding. Like, there's the early scene with the bath that is one of my favorite scenes that I've seen in a long time. Like,
as much as this movie is, like, just straight up horny and, like, just titties in the screen, there is evidence in this film of, like, a restrained eroticism in this film.
Yes, there is.
And that scene especially is where it shines. The scenes where they're taking off each other's sort of layers of clothes, of robes. That's another one. But there's also the sort of, like... holy shit, titties on the screen moments in this film.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, as you say, like, air quotes, male gazing.
Mm-hmm. I did just want to get that out there, that I think that there's uses for that, and I don't always want to... I want to use it as the neutral, actual, like, film crit term, and not just as the loaded term that it's become.
It's interesting that it's like, there's literally, like, a point of view shot from the one character looking at the other character in the bath, directed by a guy, which makes it kind of like this complex sort of knot of point of view.
Certainly. I mean, like, weirdly, the thing I'd compare the sexiness the most to, this is another weird comparison, is like Barbarella, where it's like kind of over the top, very strange, but also like sexy and clearly male gazy, but also in a way that I found personally rewarding and interesting.
Yeah, Roger Vadim, famously, giant horn dog.
But yeah, that was my final piece on The Handmaiden. Do we want to decide whether that or Fight Club is going to move on?
I want to hear what you have to say about this.
I'm generally conflicted. Coming into this, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know which one I'm going to choose, because I like both of them quite a bit. They're both 4-star movies for me, not 5-star movies, but they're both 4-star movies for me. I think that it's really, for me, it's a question of me actually thinking, well, what are we going to talk about next time? And Fight Club has more text, but The Handmaiden has more filmmaking. Yeah. And one of those is easier to talk about on the podcast. But also, I really like The Handmaiden and also lesbians. So, I mean, how do I deny that?
You deny it by giving David Fincher the win.
Does he deserve it, though?
David Fincher, as a filmmaker, 100% deserves to be represented in this bracket as far as his movies can go.
Certainly. And he will easily win next round if that's what we do.
Whoever wins here wins the next round. Spoiler alert. Because The Handmaiden is virtuosic in a way that I don't think Fight Club is. Even though it's a great film.
I thought of a great way to decide this. The Handmaiden has a second cut that neither of us watched. Whereas Fight Club would be watching the same cut we already saw.
I do like an upset.
So...
Oh, God, I don't want to see David Fincher.
I don't either, but, that's kind of IMDb's fault. They should have put his better movies on the list.
It is. It is. It is with a heavy heart that we bid adieu to the god David Fincher. Tough luck, man. It was literally just the luck of the draw.
Yeah.
And also Isabel's insistence that your name move on to round 2. And we crown The Handmaiden the victor of this particular matchup.
You ever, this is probably not going to get cut. You ever start looking up something and you find that's like there's a whole community that's interested in a thing that like you couldn't imagine everyone actually caring about?
All the time.
For example,
I just assume that people are into wild shit.
I just found a whole website of Blinks the Time Sweeper fan fiction.
Come again?
you know Blinks the Time Sweeper?
I have no idea what the fuck that is.
It's okay. No. So Blinks the Time...
What the hell is Blinks the Time Sweeper?
Do you remember the golden age of mascot platformers?
No.
So,
wait, like Bubsy or whatever?
Yeah. You know Mario. You know Sonic.
Yeah.
But you got your Bubsies. You got your Crocs. You got your Gexes. Yeah, I was gonna say Gex. My favorite of all of them. And you also had a little cat who could. He's a time sweeper. He came at the very beginning of the original Xbox's release cycle. And it was a moderate hit that was moderately well received. It is a middlebrow video game, like a middlebrow as fuck video game. It's fine.
Oh, we should do middlebrow games after this.
Great, we gotta like play 20 hours of each one to get to the end. Wonderful.
Exactly.
But Blinks was little loved, little adored. There was not really any Blinks fans, or so I thought, until I searched Blinks fan fiction, which, to be fair, that was my fault. I realize now, but there's quite a bit of it. There's actually a Blinks of Time Super fan site, which has still ongoing fan fiction. The last update, Derek, guess when it was made?
I'm going to go with November 4th, 2019.
Oh, no, you're being a little too generous. It was May 23rd, 2019. But still,
Okay,
for a video game released in like 2001 that no one has thought about since then, I'm impressed. Good job, Thin Minty, for Guardians of Time.
Shout out to Thin Minty.
The Tom-Toms are at it again, disrupting time and stealing crystals. It's up to you and Blinks to stop them, but the mission takes a turn for the unexpected. Not in a sexy way, because that is rated K+.
I was going to say, that was like one of the things that kind of passed me by, is like, I never wrote fan fiction.
Neither did I. It was never a thing that I really got into. I read fan fiction, but I never like wrote it.
I like sparingly, but I am like 100% legitimately surprised that you didn't have like 8 months where you like intensely wrote fan fiction.
Is it because do I strike you as a fan fiction person, Derek?
100%.
Well, thanks for that one.
I mean, it's a value neutral judgment.
Okay, doesn't sound that way, but we can move on, I guess, from Blinks to Time Super fan fiction.
So do we have anything? Do we have any follow up or housekeeping to do before we go on our merry way?
And we gotta do plugs. We gotta do that kind of stuff. We got to let people know what the next matchups are, and I do have one email.
All right, so I'll do the we'll do next matchup email plugs sign off.
Okay.
So next time on episode 21, we've got two fresh out the oven matchups for you. We have 2001: A Space Odyssey versus Finding Nemo, and The Intouchables, not Untouchables, which I think would have been a better movie, but The Intouchables versus Blade Runner 2049. Oh,
what a bunch of shit!
It's going to be a wild one. I'm going to defend one of these movies, and you might not be expecting which one it is.
I am. I know already.
Because you know already.
Yeah.
We are getting, like, the middle of the bracket, there's some weird shit. There's some wild stuff in this section of the bracket.
Sure is.
I'm peeking ahead a little bit. This next run of episodes is going to be real interesting.
Is it time for us to do some emails?
Yeah, we got some, despite the fact that we were off air for several months, we still have some stuff in the inbox.
To be fair, this has been in the inbox for like 3 months, so...
Doesn't matter.
Sorry for being on hiatus so long. I had brain problems. My brain was like an old jalopy that I had to like put some weird parts into to try to get it to start going again.
But you're good.
Let's not say that. But I'm gonna have to do this podcast.
Are you better? Okay. I'm glad. I am glad you're in a position where you can do this show, because I really like doing this show.
I do too, Derek. So this is from Cantankerous in Kentucky.
What's up, Cantankerous?
They gave us 2 things. Number 1 was a vegan recipe, which I'm not going to read the whole thing like I did last time, because that was not funny and a waste of all of our time. But we will add a link. It's
we will add a link.
It's a sheet pan vegetarian summer bowl, and it looks pretty delicious. Honestly, it's got some broccoli. It's got some
Ooh.
tofu. Got some peaches. I mean, how can you go wrong? Chickpeas.
Ooh.
Like hot damn. I like all those things.
I like all those things too.
But movie-wise questions, how good is Pacific Rim? Derek, how do you think?
Good enough.
Pacific Rim is a middle-of-the-road movie.
It's fun. I mean, I saw it in theaters. I had a great time. It's about what you'd expect from like a Guillermo del Toro kaiju movie.
I think it's worse than what I expected. I have, that's, to be fair, it's because it's Guillermo del Toro, and I have high expectations for the man, because he's good at making movies. But I'd say that Pacific Rim might be my least favorite of his movies.
More than, like, Mimic?
Like, the probably Mimic's lower on the totem pole just because it's got less of that flavor, but Pacific Rim,
sure.
I mean, I can't think of another Guillermo del Toro movie I'd put below it. Can you?
No, I don't. I don't know. Maybe the first Hellboy.
Oh no, I think that's wonderful. Also, but I'm also biased because the second Hellboy is my favorite Guillermo del Toro movie.
Hellboy 2 is pretty cool.
Hellboy 2 is a masterpiece. Also, just there's another note in here. Sorry, we don't really have strong opinions about Pacific Rim. It was fine. I do recommend, like, if you haven't seen it, do watch it. It's fun. It's really fun. Yeah, I saw it in theaters. It was I saw it while kind of drunk in the theater, and it was wonderful.
That may be the optimal way of watching that movie.
But also in this email, this person here, a cantankerous, says, I'll ship out Cincinnati chili seasoning packets if y'all want, which are really good. And Derek needs to experience Cincy chili and provide shipping addresses for the free chili seasoning. Hey, Derek, don't do that. Cincinnati chili, sorry, cantankerous. Cincinnati chili is the worst fucking thing you could ever eat. I'm
not familiar with this food.
It's, like spaghetti?
I love spaghetti.
What if spaghetti was bad? That's Cincinnati chili. I feel like that is the most controversial thing I've said.
Is there pasta in Cincinnati chili?
Are you really not familiar with this at all?
No, because I just eat regular ass chili. I'm not familiar with the local variant.
Yeah, it is on pasta. It's on spaghetti or hot dog. It's really what you put it on. But it's like sweet.
Sweet?
Yeah.
A sweet chili.
So
it's not like earthy or like savory. It's sweet.
I mean, it's a little savory, but it's got like cinnamon and nutmeg and allspice in it.
I mean, I put that in my chilies. So
really,
yeah,
man, fuck off.
What's wrong with cinnamon? You? Well, not a ton of cinnamon.
And in some home recipes, unsweetened dark chocolate. Ugh.
Now, I don't put chocolate in my chili though. Like I don't put sugar.
No, but
I put cinnamon a little bit. But that's more for the earthiness and not necessarily the sweetness.
I would not put cinnamon in a chili. That's just my opinion. Generally, my chili seasonings. Are we going to get into this? This is dumb.
I mean, I don't have I don't have a list of chili seasonings at the ready, really. But
I mean, obviously, I'm doing a vegan chili, so it's different. But you got your tomatoes and your beans. Those are what you need.
Obviously,
number one.
Sure.
Usually like some vegetable stock to kind of add some in there, make it a little bit soupier. I will almost always use obviously salt and pepper, duh, but also garlic, onions, both garlic,
sure.
Both the powder form and the actual vegetable form. I'll put both in there just to make sure it's hey, we got this in here.
I just use a fuckload of garlic.
Bay leaves. I love a good bay leaf. Depending, I actually sometimes use oregano, which is weird.
I use oregano as well.
Yeah,
or I use like sort of your standard Italian seasoning.
Yeah, for sure. And
basil as well.
I usually put a little bit of cumin in there too.
Cumin, chili powder, cinnamon, as I had mentioned earlier.
I don't like putting chili powder in a chili. I know that's heresy right now, but
it seems counterintuitive.
I will put actually my favorite thing to do is to put I have tons of dried peppers in my house, and I will
I put the dried.
I'll chop up a bunch of dried peppers and put them in there without boiling them first. That way, they boil in the chili.
I put a fuckload of dried pepper flakes.
Oh,
and I put a healthy amount of sriracha sauce as well in there.
That's a bridge too far. To me, you got to have a vinegary hot sauce in your chili.
See, that's the thing.
Hot sauce.
I don't like my chili. I don't like my chili soupy. I do like it heartier. So I don't really use stock. I just use.
You just reduce it.
I just a little bit whatever moisture comes from the stuff that I'm using, and because I put meat in mine, obviously, so the fat from the meat, and a little bit of oil to start it. But I don't add any additional liquid other than the juices from the tomatoes and the beans or the little bit of oil that I use.
I add just a little bit, and also usually I'll add a little bit of white vinegar.
See, that's the thing. I think you like it more sort of pickly and vinegary, whereas I like it more hearty.
Yeah, I prefer pickly and spicy
chili. Yeah, I like an earthy. I like a spicy, but I like an earthier taste.
This is all getting cut, isn't it?
Probably. I mean, you're the editor.
Yeah, sure. Anyways,
this was chili talk.
Fuck Cincinnati. Take that, Cincinnati. Also, usually there's just tons of cheese on top of Cincinnati chili.
I mean, I'll put a little bit of cheese on my chili or a little bit of sour cream, but it's not a core part of the experience.
It's a core part of the Cincinnati chili thing. From what I've seen, I shouldn't talk like an authority. I've had Cincinnati chili twice. Both times it was, I guess that the closest thing I can compare it to is what do you call it? Like Sloppy Joe's, but not good.
Love Sloppy Joe's. So, but if I ever go Ohio way, I'll definitely try it once because I'll eat any damn thing you put in front of me.
Yeah, sure. I mean, hey, might as well give it one shot. But overall, I'd say stay away from Cincinnati chili unless you're vibing for it. Anyways,
so that was the food corner, I guess.
How do we close this thing out? Do we have to say like where we're from?
We don't have to say where we're from, but we do have to say where we are at.
There we go. Yeah.
So if you're interested in whatever the fuck this is, you can always visit our official website would be on the noisespace.xyz website, the Noisespace website, which is our nominally our podcast network, which is run by our friend Matt. You can find us at noisespace.xyz/middlebrow-madness. You can also follow us on Twitter. We are at middlebrowpod. And you can follow us individually on Twitter. I am at Derek_G, and Isabel is at SpaceJamFan. We are also on Letterboxd individually. I am there also as Derek_G, and Isabel is there as The Trap's Jaw. And if you want to give us a rating on Apple Podcasts, that would be great. We're so small that it will count towards something. It does help out. And also, just spread the words. If you got friends who like movies or movie podcasts, let them know about us. We let them know that we're back, baby, and we're gonna do some stuff.
We are gonna do some stuff.
We are definitely going to do some stuff. Who knows? We might piss someone off. We might make some friends. Who knows? This podcast is going to go on for a very long time.
So with that,
I think you got to sign off first.
I've been... I never even said my name to start this fucking podcast out, did I? Oh,
it's okay. Your name's everywhere.
I'm Isabel Arf.
And I'm Derek God. Have movies, be jolly.
Have movies, be jolly. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I don't know why I said it like that. Okay.
You put a little jazz on it.
Stopping record. It's all about the words I don't say.